If somebody were to come in right now and give me two, say, aluminum crutches, I would know exactly where they would go.
This is the story of a rebellious visionary, an artist who has dedicated his life to repurposing abandoned objects.
I've never seen someone suffer for their art as much as I saw Vince suffer.
Hasn't fallen down yet.
In the middle of Austin, Texas, welcome to the Cathedral of Junk. Vince Hanneman has assembled over 100 tons of abandoned objects, hundreds of bicycles, crutches, and compact discs into a 3-story, 10-meter or 32-foot high cathedral. It's a monument to his creativity, but the colossal effort has taken 25 years to get to this point, and he's not finished.
My name is Vince Hanneman, with the Cathedral of Junk behind me here, which is a building that I have built out of every kind of junk known to man, given to me mostly by my good friends.
This morning, he's opened his doors to the curious, and the reaction each time is the same: astonishment.
Most people like it, but it kind of really does depend on their age group. If they're young kids, it's just a playground for them and they run around. The older people tend to go down memory lane, so they start looking at things and thinking about, oh, I used to have one of those, or oh, Grandma had one of those, or the car people are identifying parts, you know. That comes from a 55 Ford or whatever, you know. That's worth money.
We live in a world where we produce so much garbage, and for someone to have the vision to turn that into something beautiful and to help us see maybe some of the ugliness, like in that beauty, like the waste, I think that's very inspiring and a different way to think about how we can live in the world. So, yeah.
This is just what I've been doing ever since I was a kid. It just started as a series of individual freestanding sculptures, and they grew together. And this is what the result is 25 years later.
Each visit gives Vince the opportunity to explain his approach and share the details, large and small, of his incredible cathedral.
I'm working on the renovation right now. Ever since they made me get my building permit, I had to tear down so much. There was 40 tons of stuff that I took out of here, went over the scales to be recycled.
What's the coolest thing that someone's like left recently?
Oh, that longhorn hanging on the back of the house right there.
Somebody brought that to
Yeah,
you? And that went on your house.
Right away.
That was like, it's like a mascot kind of, right?
Yeah, like I'm not going to take it inside. That's a little creepy, but
But it wasn't going to go in there.
There's not a lot of that kind of stuff in the cathedral that's going to, you know, a few. The CDs, they don't last.
They don't last.
The Cathedral of Junk receives about 10,000 visitors each year. Up to 200 people might visit on any given Saturday. It's safe to say that this unique project is definitely part of the Austin tourist circuit.
As far as the people who come here, I get people here from every country in the world, and I guess in a way I get to represent Austin. The saying is keep Austin weird. And so when they come here, they want to see something weird, and I guess this is it. Since before I could write, I think, you know, I've wanted to do something like this. I used to go to church and think, wow, religious art is so ugly. If only somebody would do some better religious art, it'd be awesome. So that might have been one of my first thoughts, is I want to grow up and make better religious art, you know? It's like, ooh.
Oh my God! Mommy! There's even more here!
Kids are my biggest fans, for sure.
Yeah, I would
For
believe
sure.
that.
Yeah, they don't ask me the silly questions. They just run around and play. I have a public, I guess you could say. You know, I mean, people read a lot more into it than I thought I put into it.
Well, you put yourself into it.
I know, but you could read a lot of stuff into it,
right.
and it's, you know, that's not really, I'm just kind of playing and having fun.
It's beautiful the way that he's taken things that are all around us and assembled them into a form that makes them seem totally unique and makes you look at things that you hadn't thought about in a really long time, like CDs that used to come in the mail to get America Online. He used to get these all the time, and now he's found a way to make them beautiful, but also to make me remember that time, and I think that's really special.
Part of the reason I do this stuff is because I've been afraid the world's going to come to an end any minute, you know, and So I better get out there today and go do something, you know.
Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Very nice.
Thank you. You guys have a great day. All right.
Forget all the cliches of ranches, oil wells, and gun-toting cowboys. Austin is, in fact, the epicenter of America's alternative culture. With its vibrant music scene, large student population, and a tech industry to rival Silicon Valley, Austin stands out from the rest of Texas. Here, nonconformity is a way of life. Or, as a popular slogan has it, keep Austin weird.
My name is Red Wasnick, and I'm the idiot who came up with the phrase, keep Austin weird. It's growing so fast, and it still is, that it's changing. It's losing its kind of funky, eccentric quality. And my favorite example of that funky, eccentric qualities is the Cathedral of Junk. I think it's just absolutely the best example in town. There is kind of a sense of adventure in this town for it's okay to be different. A lot of artists live in town and musicians, so they kind of came to dominate the culture. And we're certainly more politically liberal than most of Texas still are.
Hi, my name is Scott Stevens, and I've known Vince for about 19 years. He's a friend, and he's also a mentor and a supporter. I don't know about Austin being weird because it feels like home to me. It feels like life should be. Other people who've never experienced something like this may consider it weird, but it's not that alien to my background.
Hopefully, you know, it's being invaded by so much money. That's what worries me, but we still get things like this, you know. About 20 years ago, they started to build some condos here, and after they put up these slabs, they realized that they got it wrong and the soil just wasn't going to work, so they just abandoned it. But then people bought it and actually said, let's celebrate this, and so they encourage people to come do it, and you're not going to get in trouble. And about 2 or 3 times a year, they'll just come in and paint everything over, and it all just starts again.
I knew very little about Austin when I came here. No, people first started telling me, oh, that's really Austin what you're doing, and I had no clue what they were talking about. Not at all.
Vince Hanneman was born in Germany in 1963, where he spent the first 6 years of his life before immigrating to the United States with his family. At home, in the shadow of his cathedral, he remembers the children's books that first inspired him. His imagination, it seems, was drawn to the improbable from an early age.
This is probably one of my oldest possessions here. This book, before I was 6, I think I brought this with me when we moved to America, to the Bronx, from Stuttgart. It's a story of a guy who's got a bunch of different odd jobs. You can see he's a hard-working guy. He's been a Santa Claus and a deep-sea diver. But in real life, he takes tickets at the subway. But, of course, he's a creative guy. He likes to decorate it with flowers and so on. But that doesn't really go over with the authorities. You know, he's just a free spirit. Anyway, one day at work, he sees his butterfly coming down there, and he loses his job because he tries to save the butterfly. But life is strange. He finds out that he comes into this property out in the country, and it's kind of a fallen down property, but he doesn't care. He's just going to start fixing it up with his buddy and everything. There we go. And what kid wouldn't want to live in a house like that? So this image, honestly, has been in my brain for a long time, you know, and you know, it's a good life. He's a hard-working dude. Look, he makes a living for himself. This is like me too. Like I made something out of nothing.
My name is Chris Jones, and I've known Vince since freshman year of high school, which was 77. He used to make things in his backyard, and they were more earthy. They were more organic, sort of structural sculptures. Stuff that would decompose. Part of the idea was that it would be ephemeral. I do definitely remember Pyramid. That was a lot of fun. It was an old chicken coop just trash. This whole hillside was just covered with crap. And he built it up into this pyramid and then found a motorcycle that was abandoned.
Put the motorcycle up on top. It was pretty, man, nowadays I would never do that.
That was pretty crazy, because you know.
And then we poured gasoline all over the whole top of the pyramid
And the whole
set it on
pyramid was
fire.
flaming.
Just this big flame.
And
that was fun.
That was fun.
Virginia Zimmerman was the original owner of the land on which Vince began building his cathedral.
I'm Virginia Zimmerman, and one of the homes we bought was rented from us by Vince Hanneman. Since that house, which was at 4422 Lorena, had a beautiful backyard, Vince decided to do some sculpturing back there.
So, in 1989, without a license and in the yard of a house that did not belong to him, Vince Hanneman launched on the crazy project that would one day become the Cathedral of Junk. A full 20 years passed before it took its current form.
I don't know why he was doing it, but it didn't matter that he was doing it. He was expressing himself, so.
When people first started asking me, what do I call the cathedral? I didn't call it the cathedral. I called it Yard Space 11. And the reason is because I just counted up all the different yards that I've done. That's what I called it at first. Now, Yard Space 11 doesn't really come off the tongue very nicely, and you got to explain it to people, and that's just a mouthful. My mom was the one that came up with the name Cathedral of Junk. And I'm guessing that was 92 or 3, whenever, you know, something like that. That stuck like glue.
I think we were very non-committal about the whole thing. It really didn't matter to us. In fact, we often gave him things to add to his structure.
This is just like building a treehouse or a fort, maybe, you know? I'm lucky that I was able to do those sorts of things. In New Mexico, I mean, we even made our own adobes and built forts and things. And when we lived more up in the mountains, I cut down trees and built log cabins. And so I've always wanted to build things. You know, I want to build my own civilization, you know? I want to get stranded on Gilligan's Island, you know, and live in those, you know, little bamboo huts or something. Be awesome. I mean, I don't know. What kid doesn't want to do that?
Visitors flocked. The media took interest. He even managed to draw an income from his endeavors, allowing him to concentrate on his art full-time.
These I got in 2008 when I got my first residual check from the Bank of America commercial that was shot here. It was really nice to get checks from the bank. It was nice going to the mailbox and getting checks. And when the first check came in, I was like, oh, I've made it. I'm an actual artist now. You know, because it was like a job, you know. I was working for the Screen Actors Guild. They take out the money for taxes and whatever, and you get a check, and that's, you know, it's the real deal. And I thought, well, now I'm going to own it, you know. And so I went right down and I got these tattoos. I'm going to be the Junk King from now on.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
For 20 years, Vince Hanneman was able to build his cathedral without impediment or protest, and his junk monument emerged as one of Austin's greatest attractions. But all this attention came at a price, and in 2009, his fortunes changed. City building inspectors demanded that this cathedral comply with local regulations. Reality was catching up with the Junk King.
5, 6, 7 years ago, one of Vince's neighbors complained about the cathedral, saying it was unsafe. So the city came out and they were saying, well, you know, and they tried to do all these formal building code things on it, which he kind of had to comply with.
The problem with the city and Vince was that some of Vince's building was out of code. And he was just very fortunate for a long time that no one nailed him on it. And that's not saying anything negative about Vince. He was just blessed.
My name is Travis Habersat. I've known Vince for a number of years, and I'm an architect here in the state of Texas. Previously, It has just been one of those art pieces, you know, keep Austin weird sort of situations that it was there, they knew about it, they never really bothered Vince, and that was fine.
We were happy with the project and would have encouraged the city to allow him to continue that. But I was concerned about the liability regarding the property because we were the owners of it, and if someone was injured on the property, then I feel as though we would have been liable for it. So that bothered me some.
Vince Hanneman is not the only one in the neighborhood to suffer the wrath of the municipal authorities.
Some anonymous person went and called the city and ratted a lot of people out, and most of the people were innocent. I mean, absolutely innocent.
But I don't know if that's really the truth or not, exactly if that's the whole story, because at the same time that I got my violation, there were 60-some other code violations in the neighborhood just south of here. Same time, all for things like garage additions and other things that, that they had bought their houses with and had been there for, 20, 30 years. A lot of stuff. They didn't get as much media attention as I did.
As the city grows, there is more regulations coming through the city, that sort of thing, so it does get a little bit harder to do certain things now. Like if you wanted to start this, today, and it was a blank canvas, he might have a lot more problems with the city.
Austin has grown so crazy fast that I don't know how any department could keep up. That's a lot of building to be going on, so they're like, and so probably some things kind of were not high on their priority list, and now it is. And especially since property values are all up, so as soon as something's worth some money, they take an interest in it. So that's the way the world works.
The verdict came in March of 2010, forcing the Junk King to shut the doors to his kingdom. Things were looking bleak.
And I had to tear down everything within 5 feet of the fence. And it was 40 tons, 80,000 pounds worth of metal that I took out of here that went over the scales to be recycled.
He got very angry about that, and I don't blame him, because it was just like, here, you try to do something nice, and, they just make your life hard.
Vince was furious. No, he was furious. He threw a sawzall at me. No, that was like an emotional, that was like a roller coaster. It was an emotional roller coaster, because it was like so sudden.
I saw him taking pieces down. He was very discouraged because, this is his life's work. He's been doing this for 25, 30 years. And so to see him having to pull pieces down, it was a bit heart-wrenching, especially since, part of the piece that he pulled down is where I proposed my fiance. So it was one of those things that affected me, too, to see something that was, I thought a special place to propose to, disappear, essentially.
The city came and clamped down on him and said, you can't have anybody back here. They can come up to the gate and look at it, but nobody can come back there.
Until it was done, I was, had no rights. And they gave me 7 days to comply. And every week for 7 months, I had to go down and get a 7-day extension. And just because you're the first guy down at the office doesn't mean you're the first guy that they see. And even though what I had to do was so simple, all I had to do is say, you're going to give me another 7 days? Sure, I'll give you another 7 days. Well, thanks for coming down. It was so hard. It was ridiculous.
It was just like this, the scarlet letter, this dangerous condition exists, and there was just the stake in the ground, and nobody could come in. It was declared a hazardous thing. They didn't prove that it was unsafe. They made him prove it was safe.
I was so pissed off and sad, hurt, disappointed, disillusioned, just really pushed to every limit in the world that I could think of. It was really super hard, very, very hard.
Beyond all the red tape and bureaucracy, Vince draws strength from the same source he always has, his visitors. Only now, they should make an appointment before coming.
I really wanted to see this.
And you brought me crutches. Thank you.
I would
My
live
favorite.
with you if I could. Don't tell me you don't have crutches.
I have crutches. They're one of my favorite items, for sure. Before, I would just choose which days I was actually open, and then people would call, and I'd say, yeah, sure, come by, before 6 or whatever. So I didn't really have an idea And then I would just point them to the box. But now I ask for a specific amount, and I limit how many people come and when they come. Come on in. Have you been here before? You have?
No, I never have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Neither of us.
Well, feel free to explore.
Okay.
There is a tire staircase in the yellow area that goes to the second floor, but you might not make it up there. But
I brought my eyes for
there's plenty. I don't know. Before I decided to go to by appointment, I did the calculations, and I would have had over 17,000 people come through if that rate had continued. Well, that's just crazy. That's too much. Sometimes it's hard to even go to the bathroom. It's like guaranteed. You know, there'll be nobody, there'll be nobody, there'll be nobody. It's like, I think I'll go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom, sure enough, boom. There are thousands of people who want to come that I have to say no. If you go around, you'll find where you can go, I'm sure. There's not too many steps to negotiate.
Okay.
And the red box on the table is the donation box.
Okay. Thanks.
You live in Austin?
I do.
Oh, cool.
North Austin.
All right.
Yeah, I took the scenic tour. North Lamar,
Oh, you're
Guadalupe.
south of the river now.
Yeah, thanks.
Unfortunately, the women in his life didn't feel the same way about the abundance of visitors.
My first wife missed out on the majority of the worst of it as far as people are concerned. So she didn't really have to deal with that quite as much as my second wife. By that time, things were really going full bore. When we hooked up, everything was really going good. But she really is not a people person. There's a little bit of a jealousy thing going on, I think. And anyway, that marriage didn't last long. And, I mean, that might have been solvable, but we were like competitive drinking, and that's a recipe for disaster, for sure. So, you know, alcohol and marriage, not a good mix.
Today, it's in the ride that he'll find his equilibrium. During the week, Vince often leaves behind work on his cathedral to enjoy the great outdoors.
I do like to bike. It's very relaxing. You know, it's good physical activity. Most of the time, all these years I've been building the cathedral, that's been kind of my exercise, but that's kind of tailed off, so, you know, I like to keep busy. I'm so glad I got that bike.
It's great.
I had a little bit of post-purchase regret, as usual.
Yeah, that's typical with any big purchase, you know.
It's nice to get out in nature out here. I'm really lucky, unlike most people who can only get out here on the weekends, I get to get out here during the week when there's not a lot of people out here, so it feels like I've got the park to myself a lot of times.
I like the people in Austin. I like this beautiful green belt that we have. It's really an interesting place to live.
This has been a real challenge to learn how to mountain bike. At first, I didn't think I'd be able to do it, but now I do. So it's a challenge. It's really exciting being able to do technical stuff that you didn't think you'd be able to do, and so that's really fun. This is where we dropped in here behind Toys R Us, and we went down and came all the way around down here to Barton Springs. So that's only about half, not even half of it. There's a whole bunch more upstream.
There's a lot of controversy because they're trying to build all these developments and it's messing up the water. So there's always an ongoing fight about protecting the green belt.
I think if I'd had kids, I think it would have been a different story.
Maybe so.
It would have been horrible, right? Can you imagine me with kids? Shit.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, they'd be,
Oh, man, if I got issues with my mom, imagine the issues that the kids would have with me. Holy crap. Totally delinquent dad. Dad, all you care about is that junk. That's right, kiddo.
The Cathedral of Junk is made up of crutches and other miscellaneous junk, but despite its seemingly random appearance, each object is placed with care and purpose. Taken as a whole, it's a work of incredible precision.
People ask me, oh, how does it stay up, and how'd you put it together and everything, and I don't really get the question because it's kind of really, like, right in your face. I mean, there's nothing up my sleeves here. They think that maybe there's like an armature underneath there, and then I attach the stuff to it. No. Everything is connected to everything, and it's what I call string theory, which is a variation on Murphy's Law, which Murphy's Law is, obviously, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong at the most inappropriate time. String theory is like that. If it can get tangled up, it will get tangled up at the most inappropriate time. And the next time you're dragging around an extension cord or a hose or anything else string-like, you'll see. I think I'm pretty good at measuring things in my head and knowing where they'll fit, so it's not just pure inspiration.
Well, it changes so. Each time I go, he's done something different to it. So I enjoy seeing the little collections he has of little Cupid dolls, and he'll arrange things so interestingly with, he may have hubcaps in one area and TV remote controls in another. You never know what to expect, and each time it's different.
99% is donations, for sure, yeah. All the rubber duckies came in a box from Washington State one day. So I even get junk in the mail. Yeah, junk mail, for sure. This past winter, I got a chainsaw blade and a $20 bill in the mail from Anchorage, Alaska. No note. No note, just a chainsaw blade and a $20 bill. That's so cool. Uh-oh. I don't know who leaves these refrigerators open. At the beginning, I like to collect irons to iron your clothes with, and they've got that Gothic arch already. I love that shape. A lot of the things out here I like because of the shape. The crutches also have that shape. And then you've got, all the round things, the hubcaps and so on. And then the colors, I like the stained glass look. I like that light through colored glass look, and there's a lot of that out there. Obviously, this is the throne. Somebody told me cathedral is the chair of the bishop, right? So you got to have your chair. And luckily, this was out of the setback, and I didn't have to tear that down, because that's one of my favorite things. If somebody were to come in right now and give me 2, say, aluminum crutches, I would know exactly where they would go. Maybe not exactly, but generally, they would go right over here somewhere. Yeah, the light is super important to me. Without the light, there's nothing happening in here. And like right now, we've got all these little, the CDs reflecting in here. I actually had this little girl come in here one day, and it was so cute. I don't know, she was like maybe 4, no more than 4. And she sees these little lights going around. She goes, "Oh, fairies." And I thought, that is so cool.
You're never going to see the same thing, every time you come. There's going to be something new that pops up. It's kind of cool to see that.
This is just a pile, but I do try to keep it up off the ground and structured, because I'm always in the back of my mind thinking somebody's going to come inspect, As Monty Python says, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition except for me. I expect them every day. I'm paranoid about that. I move things in my head many, many times before I move them in actual fact. This thing is calling out to me. Ooh, it's hot, but I'm just going to grab some wire. I've been visualizing this in a certain location, which is up above that turbine fan next to that plate. And I've kind of built this up a little bit and kind of blocked off my path. This is the rose that grew on Sleeping Beauty's castle. All right. Hasn't fallen down yet.
I go to the Cathedral of Junk at least a couple of times a year. Just, you got to go to church occasionally.
Lord knows what people are doing back here when I'm giving them half a minute, It's crazy.
This unique cathedral has been accumulating strange objects for over 25 years. It's become so famous that some visitors leave behind their own objects.
I go around and I clean up their business cards and so on. They add a lot of business cards. People tag, you know, they want to write on it, and I don't like that, so I go around and I erase things. 420 this, 420 that, you know. Good grief. Oh, God, you guys were 420ing up here on when I wasn't looking. Oh, yay. You know, it's like they got to announce it, though. Since I've started asking specifically for a donation and doing it by appointment, now people are more respectful. I've found evidence of people's extracurricular activities out here, shall we say, you know, a couple of times, which kind of sucks to think that, I mean, I'm glad they were being safe, but I just don't know how the heck they were doing what they were doing. When they don't really have to pay anything, they don't really care about it so much.
In order to bring the Cathedral of Junk into compliance with local ordinances, Vince had to move an incredible 40 tons of material. This process lasted 7 months, and no visitors could come to the cathedral. But the Junk King could count on his disciples through cash donations and organized fundraisers. One such loyal supporter is Travis Habersat.
I had kind of just been here and noticed Vince was taking things down. As soon as I found out that the city was cracking down on him, I instantly, being an architect, wanted to get involved and do whatever I could to help. Basically, it was a long fight with the city. I was mainly involved with the kind of drawing aspect of it, and a lot of the city lawyers and the building department did a lot of back and forth, so I was kind of on the sidelines just fielding emails, that sort of thing.
The whole time I was non-compliant, I had no property rights. I wasn't allowed to rent, sell, lease, or give away this house. From what I understood of the rules, if it was under 200 square feet and out of the setback, I wouldn't need a building permit. So I thought, oh, well, okay, it's already beat out of the setback. Now I'll just slice and dice it into pieces that are each 200 square feet out of the setback, and then there'll just be individual freestanding sculptures next to each other, and then at least I'll be able to have something.
And I basically just took the fence, took my tape measure, and spent an hour or two out here and just kind of measured the base, and so we could see what was over and what was not, and just how much he needed to cut back to comply.
That got out to code enforcement, and code enforcement said, oh, well, now you need a demolition permit. I had to ask them at the beginning, do I need a demolition permit? I already moved all this stuff out. No, you don't need a demolition permit, just get busy. Fine, okay, whatever. When I decided I wasn't going for the building permit anymore, now I need a demolition permit. Okay, fine. I've been complying I just complied. I did everything. I never said, I got a constitutional right to have my yard art. No. And their trump card was that they could turn off my power, bulldoze it, charge me for it, and take me to civil court.
Vince fought body and soul to defend his creation, and his efforts were starting to pay off.
He had to do all these stress tests to prove it was solid, and it's solid as a rock, and everybody knew it.
They had me right there the whole time, you know, and didn't let them loose of their grip the whole time. And until it was actually over, I didn't know it was going to be over.
I, and especially a couple friends of mine who are lawyers and know people at City Hall, went down and argued on his behalf and kind of smoothed things out.
They asked me for the demolition permit, and I said, okay. That got out to the media and to city council and the mayor and stuff, and all they could hear was cathedral to be demolished. And that has just echoed down through the years. People still are like, thought the cathedral was torn down. Overall, about 200 people came through here and helped me out. It kind of went in waves. At the beginning, I got a lot of volunteer help, and there was just like a core left of about 5 or 6 people who kind of stayed.
So it's not just about the construction of the Cathedral of Junk. I've also taken down 40 tons of junk. Like I helped him with that.
The city of Austin has a height restriction of 32 feet, and so since it's in a residential zoning, we're treating it the same way. And so what I did for my drawing was take a photograph, and basically I took some measurements, scale that to 8 feet, and scale the photograph associated with that, and basically draw over this thing to kind of determine what the maximum height was. It's quirky, you know, because there's like a Christmas tree deer that's, you know, traced over and things like that, you know, because it's a quirky structure. I just tried to represent it as best I could.
Up above our head is the second floor. As part of the getting the building permit, one of the things we had to do was get an engineer to sign off on it. So we put 400 gallons of water up there as a weight test. So you know it's not going to fall down. You couldn't get that much in people up there. I don't know how many you can fit up there comfortably, but not, you know, not 3,000 pounds worth, you know, whatever. So that was a lot of fun. We put cases of water and gallons of water, and then the main space in the middle there, I got an inflatable pool and, you know, with soft sides, and filled that up to top it off.
When he finally got the signature, he said that it was redundantly strong. You know, it was built, like I think he compared it to a beaver's dam or an eagle's nest or something like this. You have to compare it to something in nature because it's not a traditional architecture.
When it really came down to it, I guess just the drawing that I did and some structural analysis that the engineer did was enough to satisfy the building department and issue Vince a permit for this being a structure. Essentially, like if somebody wanted to build, you know, a secondary house in their backyard, this is Vince's secondary house in his backyard.
On the plus side, though, I really like the whole flow on this side a lot better. The fact that you can walk around is really nice, and it wasn't like that before. It just kind of dead-ended in the throne room. This gap wasn't here. This is new. And the staircase to the second level, that's all new, too.
He said he was going to tear down the whole thing, but happily he changed his mind and just got rid of part of it. It's actually better than ever now.
Today, the king reigns supreme. Having secured his right to continue working, he looks to the future with enthusiasm.
It's been a long 25 years to get through all that and get everything lined up, and now it is, so knock on wood, the city doesn't come mess with me again, which is part of the reason, too, that I'm trying to be proactive about this, controlling what's going on here and not having too many people and being good with my neighbors and all that kind of stuff. You know, I want to be a good neighbor, you know.
I just see the cathedral being exactly what it is, a constantly evolving, you know, living organism that Vince is a creator of. He's not going to stop. This is his creative outlet. He can't just, you know, it's done. I don't see that happening.
I mean, it'll never be 100% finished because I can always come out here and, you know, tweak little things, you know, if I get a little, you know, but the major construction, I want that to be done. That needs to be finished. As soon as I finish this little walkway to the third floor and renovate the third floor, the only other thing I really want to do is landscape lighting so I can light it up at night, and then I'm done. So I'm hoping maybe this year, maybe next year. This would be a great year to finish it because this has been 25 years.
Each year, a hotel in Austin organizes a special event, a gingerbread competition in which participants recreate famous city landmarks. Naturally, the Cathedral of Junk is always represented.
I was quite proud of the fact that the Four Seasons did a gingerbread village, which they do every year, and they included the Cathedral of Junk in it. And it was of pastry, and it's quite phenomenal the way it's been designed. It really captures the essence of the Cathedral of Junk, I think. Well, I'm happy that he's happy doing this, and I'm glad that he's able to continue to do it.
I'm very happy with it, and the fact that I got the building permit and went through that with the city helps with put that final kind of finishing touch on it that it needed. That was always going to happen, you know. I kind of knew it the whole time, really, but and I dreaded it, you know.
This is constantly evolving, and I just like that sort of creativity.
I would really like to do the landscape lighting before the next holiday season, because a lot of people want to come at night, and it is completely different and totally cool at night. And I haven't done that for many years, so that would be really nice, you know.
What Vince inspires me with is just a person with a vision and just doing it and not worrying if it's going to make money or be successful. Just have a vision and go for it, you know, to your own self be true.
This is Vince's style, but even his style over time kind of changes, and you develop your processes and your way of thinking about building with junk.
I think Vince and his cathedral inspire a lot of people, inspires a lot of children who come through and see it. It's inspired me to actually build, because when I was first doing my yard, I wasn't really building, I was building a garden. And the entrance portal, Vince has referred to it as a mini cathedral, because I've used some of his building techniques just by observation.
After completing the largest structures, Vince wants to focus on smaller pieces, but always using his signature material, junk.
All my small stuff that I make sells. You know, it'd be nice to make small stuff that people can take away with them. Those cutouts of Texas, I do a cutout of Texas and then glue toys to them. I think I've sold about 5 or 6 of those. And Africa, I did a whole series of those. That's a very successful series, and it's a lot of fun to do too. I haven't gotten bored of doing it yet. It'd be nice to be able to whittle back how many people come in here even more. That's the thing too. It's like, you know, you do something that people like, but, you know, in order to crank them out, like as a product, it can get boring, you know. You would want to keep it interesting, like, you know. But the countries are fun. They still, you know, hold interest for me there.
This is a humorous thing. You know, this represents like the athleticism of art, because you think of art as drawing or painting or whatever, but this is a feat, a physical feat.
The Junk King is determined as always.
I think I have climbed this mountain, you know. I want to climb a different mountain. So, you know, I like this mountain a lot, but, you know, there's other mountains, or maybe I'll just, you know, go downstream or something, you know, merrily, merrily, merrily. I don't know, you know, something like that. Nah, I've done this. I'm very happy with it. It is an incredible sense of accomplishment, I guess. And the question I get asked quite a bit is, am I an artist? I think so.